Hello everybody and welcome to another battle report. So this is battle report number 6 of the World Tour. No, it's been a little while. I apologize. I was traveling over the weekend and catching up with everything this week, but we're back and we're going to keep making our way through the World Tour. At this point, I am still in North Carolina, and what we have here is the second game I played with when I was hanging out with MIttierim and Du Bois. This one is Tomb Kings against Lizardmen. So here you can see kind of the general setup of the board. This is after deployment and Vanguard. You can see some various things are scattered around on both sides. Now, I'm going to go into sort of detailed deployment here on the next slides, but for right now, what's most important about this that I want you to know right up front is that I am an idiot. So I don't know why. I was thinking this battle was 2,500 points. I had made a bunch of 2,500 point lists. I have 2,500 points of Tomb Kings on the table. But MIttierim does not have, or did not have at this time, 2,500 points of Lizardmen ready to go. So this is 2,000 points of Lizardmen. Yeah. So I have a slight points advantage. And we're going to call this game How Not to Play Tomb Kings. This is awful generalship on my part. And yeah, not to spoil anything, but let's watch the excitement happen. All right, so let's get into the individual sides. Okay, so for me, we'll start at the top left. We've got a big unit of chariots up front. You've got a Tomb Prince and a Tomb Herald. Combine that with a champion in the unit, and you've got a full front character wall on your chariot unit, meaning the attacks have to be allocated. Down from there, you've got a broken skeleton horseman I was repairing that isn't part of this battle. You've got a skullpult. You got 3 snake surfers. Got a casket of souls in the back. It is in fact pointing the other direction. The ghost was a little close. You got a big block of chariots. This one with a Tomb King and a Tomb Herald in it. Next over, we've got a unit of carrion, unit of little archers with a lich priest, and then we got another skullpult. So that's the good guys. And the bad guys. So, Mitt has, starting again in the top left, he's got some skirmishing skinks with a skinky priest up in there. Got another unit of skirmishing skinks. He's got a salamander, got a bastillodon, got a floating ethereal frog. You got a big block of Saurus, and what's relevant about that is it's got 2 big Saurus characters in it. And they are nasty scarvets that are armed to do some damage. And then he's got a stegodon. I think it's an ancient steg, so it's got sharpened horns and, you know, the big blowpipes, the like machine gun blowpipes and everything like that. And in the first picture, as you saw, there were 5 little chameleons scouted in to try to get at my juicy backfield. And then finally, he had a priest on a ripperdactyl who is just out of shot in this, who had vanguarded up. So top of 1 goes to the TK, and right away I am not reading things correctly. So here's how I should have read this board, and hindsight is 20/20, but hey, why not? Nothing on the left side of this board should bother my chariots. I am not afraid of skinks. They can charge me front, flank, or rear. I don't care. I will smash toughness 2 skinks all day, especially at weapon skill 5 or 6, especially with 2 characters who can make way. Those are a joke and mean nothing to my chariot blocks, and I should treat them accordingly. The only thing he has that should scare these chariot blocks is the Sauruses, and there's enough of them that I need to get either both chariot blocks into them or the chariot blocks and the snake surfers, who would absolutely destroy those Sauruses. Snake surfers are really good at killing tar pit infantry like that. Between their stomps, they have a huge number of attacks. The riders are killing blow, eliminating that armor save. Everybody is strength 4 or 5. They're just great at obliterating a unit like that. So I'm going to need to double charge that block to win. Instead of setting myself up to do that, you can see this is my movement after 1. I turn my carrion to face the ripperdactyl guy because I am scared of him. He can get in my backfield and do a lot of damage. I don't want him blowing up my casket and stuff like that before I'm ready for that to happen. So the carrion just repositioned to see him, where they could charge him and scare him. And carrion should not be underestimated. They are 3 attacking, strength 4, toughness 4 models. They're not sissies by any stretch of the imagination. The archers sort of swift reform and move, and end up there facing the chameleons. And this is about the point when MIttierim remembers that Tomb King's archers always hit on 5s. So chameleons and your fancy skin and your dodgy skirmishy behavior means nothing to the arrows of a Sasaf Puff, whatever the name is. We always hit on 5s. So let's see what happens. So we shoot. This brings us into actually Mitt's turn, and you can see. So my skull bolts are just going to target the Slawn this whole game. Like that's what's happening. When again, because I was hoping to get a hit on him. My shots are magical, I would actually wound him, and then he's only got a coin flip ward save, and I do a bunch of wounds, and if I can kill his caster, this game is pretty much in the bag. Now, that's perfectly fine, but at the same time, what I probably should have been doing, and in this case, it's nice because there is a target-rich drift environment to the left and right of that Bat Frog, but it probably would have been better to start thinning down those Saurus. That's almost a guaranteed hit, even on drift. And even if I only kill 3-4 on each catapult shot, and he's never going to fail a panic test. I mean, he's going to be leadership 9 or 10 rerollable, so that's just never going to happen. But thinning out that unit makes it so if I need to charge in with 1, I could. And the chance of killing the Fat Frog is slim anyway. So, misplay number 1. Number 2, you notice those chariots just sat there like dummies. When they could have marched, well, not marched, but they could have moved up. Obviously, chariots can't march, but they could have moved up. They're full. They have the banner swiftness. They could have shot forward 9 inches and started getting themselves around that big tower in a position where I'm threatening to flank. Again, those skinks shouldn't scare me. Their shots are irrelevant. They're just not going to get enough wounds through to hurt me. I can regrow stuff if I need to. It's just not. I'm treating those skinks with way too much deference, and that is bad play. On the bright side, you'll notice we had some great shots out of the archers, and you'll see the one little chameleon left down there at the bottom. That was the other 4 died to a hail of arrows of a Sapafuff. And this little ninja moves up to keep trying to kill my catapult. He has 2 little blow shots, rolls to hit, gets a 6 and a 5, so that's 1 auto wound. His 5 to hit hits and needs a 6 to hit, or 6 to wound, and he tosses a 6. So this one little ninja takes 2 wounds off of my catapult, which I thought was quite hilarious, and led me to a funny decision the next round, which was: do I shoot at him with the archers, and just use all their shots? Do I try to turn the archers and shoot the Ripper Dipper Doo over there with the priest, or do I just charge the Lich Priest out of the unit to go whack that one skink on the head? Lich Priest may not be the best combatants, but I was thinking she could probably handle 1 skink. In the end, I did just go the safe route and shoot all 10 shots at it because the carrion wanted to get in the mix. Which, again, is probably a misplay because it would have been much better to have those carrion around to redirect that Stegodon. But hindsight is 20/20, so there you go. And he moves up a lot. So here we see what happens. This is at the top of my turn. The chariots finally remember they're here to actually play, but still don't move up as far as they can. I'm still playing charge games with the skinks because apparently I'm afraid of them for reasons unbeknownst to me at this time. My carrion go into the Ripper Dipper Doo, and that's a good thing. It's going to be, basically the little skinky guy is first, but I think I'm Simo with the Ripper Doo, or maybe even before him, I don't know. But that's going to be, hopefully something like 9 attacks into that thing, and it's not too shabby. I'll take that. My other chariots are hanging back, and so are the snakes, and I feel like that's the right answer, because I do want to... What I should be trying to do here is a little pincer maneuver. The snakes probably should have come up a little, but again, I'm dumb and bad at playing, and this is a great example of how not to play them, so I don't do that. So, here we go. You can see here, we're back on... this is sort of his turn. Or no, I think this is my turn. I had miscast a spell there. So that was fun. During Magic, I miscast and blew up some of my archers. Oops. But I do get off a big, bubble 5-up ward, I think is what I was going for. So, hey, that's fine. And now we're into his turn again. So, he throws some magic at my skeletal archers, and I have 1 left. I didn't even bother to stop it. Something was getting through, and I really didn't care about those guys. His skinks wheel way back, as well they should. That's great play on his part, because he is somehow keeping this big block of death busy with, 100 points of irrelevant models, and I'm dumb enough to fall for it. He brings up the flamethrower guy. Again, Salamander's not scary to this army. That template just doesn't have the heat to actually scare me. It's going to go over some chariots. It might wound a few of them. I'll grow the wounds back. Unfortunately, you'll notice that the Ripperdactyl is now unengaged. As I whiffed like crazy, that little guy on top had a 2-up armor save. And, I mean, I put almost no wounds on him, and then, of course, he made all of his 3-ups. And he killed all of them through attacks and crumble. Him and his Ripper just went nuts. So, yeah, that wasn't great. The Stegodon marches up like it's unafraid of me because it should be. And other than that, the Saurus's brick comes up as well. Now, I hadn't mentioned it previously, but let me talk about it real quick. That flamey bird in the middle is like a Shrine of Sigmar or something like that. I don't know, but I don't, like, effect-wise, it's fairly irrelevant on the game, but the fact that it's a piece of impassable terrain is really a pain in the butt, because now I've let him get into a position where he's got impassable terrain on his right side, meaning that my snakes are going to be much harder pressed to get any kind of flank action off. So that's, again, not super great. And I basically just walked right into it. My turn. And we enact some stuff. Things happen. So first things first, the big chariot brick goes into the Saurus, so that's a fun time. The Lich Priest scoots back and tries to get out of the way. The one basically leaves the unit of the Soul Skeleton. The Soul Skeleton marches up and gets in front of the Stegodon to redirect him. And again, just terrible redirection because I made it so you could overrun into my catapult. It's like this is my first rodeo here, I swear. And the chariots start swinging their way around over on the left side. Snakes come up a little bit to threaten. I believe, actually, what they had done is charge the Salamander. And the Salamander fled wisely, and that's where they stopped. And my Tomb Scorpion, you'll notice him back there, he had unburrowed, and he then showed up and killed them as they were fleeing or whatever. So Tomb Scorpion's now back there screwing around in their back lines, being a Tomb Scorpion. This has to be the least useful army for it to have a Tomb Scorpion, is Lizardmen. There's no war machines to pick apart, no nothing. He's just walking around back there like a dummy. Although he would win against one of those skink blocks because, I mean, he is going to hit them on 3s, wound them on 2s, and they're going to hit and wound him on 5s and 6s, assuming they don't fail a fear test. And then he's got a 5-up armor save. And he's poison and killing blow, so whatever. Not too terrible, I guess. So, as you can see, we ram the chariots into the Saurus. We do a boatload of damage because we come in with 46 Strength 5 impact hits. It's not too bad. I was really hoping to do more damage. My Tomb King has the Sword of Anti-Heroes, and so that's actually great because he'd be Strength 6 attacks. That is to say, if you remember to add the attacks, which I don't for this entire game. And Tomb King whiffs a lot over here is going to go ahead and do nothing this entire game. I mean, he maybe generates a wound a turn, hitting on Strength 6 with the 4 attacks, the incorrect 4 attacks. And my chariots over on the left are way out in Nowheresville, just completely where they can't help. So, again, just great play all around. Here we see the results after he swings back. Again, those 2 Saurus characters, those Scarvets, are so mean. They just go to work. We do kill some more in combat. We've got him down nice and thin, but not thin enough. Of course, he's steadfast and he holds, unsurprisingly. And that's pretty much that turn. So here we go to his turn. This is the results after combat. You can see he charged my little redirector and overruns into the catapult because I set that up. I set him up for a perfect series of overruns like a complete moron. So, again, just wonderful play. And the skinks move up to shoot at my chariots. Who cares? The Sauruses grind off a bunch of chariots. Again, those characters, both of them are like Strength 6, so they're just going to town where they can, when they can get into normal chariots. And I think one of them is attacking the king and one of them is going into normal chariots. He has a pretty solid round here overall. So my chariots just crumble off pretty bad. This is not a great performance for them. Chariots are these chariot bricks are usually pretty good in a grind, and they probably would have been better had I remembered things like had I remembered my character's next 2 attacks, if he had actually been doing some damage. A Tomb King with 6 attacks should be killing more than a Saurus a turn, but it's getting me in a position where I'm losing by 2 or 3, and that's causing a problem because then that's a whole chariot crumbling off. Other than that, the Bastiladon moves up to shoot a little and dares my snakes to charge at him, which of course I will happily do. And so let's go to the next turn. Oh, you can see the Salamander. He had been lost in there. So yes, now my Tomb Scorpion there, I guess, is ready to go kill him this turn. And so that's pretty much what happens. My chariots charge into the flank of the Bastiladon. My snakes charge into the front. Even though I don't think that thing actually has flanks and fronts, but that's okay. You get what I mean by that. And we blow him away, which is fine. Unfortunately, we don't kill him. We somehow miraculously manage to do 3 of his 4 wounds. All that heat on him, and we somehow do 3 of his 4 wounds, and we cause him to break, and because just charge and flank, and like I say, he doesn't have a flank, but charge, banner, rank, 3 wounds to nothing basically means he loses by a lot. He's probably on rerollable 2s, and even then, he breaks and runs away. So that sends the snakes into a position where they have to run him down, which they do. I was hoping they would get enough out of the way to let my chariots overrun, but they don't. So that's great. So, yeah, we kind of block ourselves up there. The Stegodon, I also moved my little girl out of the way. Didn't want him to directly overrun, but of course now she can't march as the general is way up there in combat. We were having the Undead Legions like march rules for this game, but other than that, this is pure Tomb Kings. Other than that, he's going to have to just reform, but, he'll kill the Skullfold on my turn and then reform and charge her on his turn. So she's not long for this world. The grind with the Sauruses continues. I don't do that many casualties. Again, Tomb King whiffs a lot. One that just does nothing. And that's pretty much the result of that combat. So we picked up a little points, but we're about to lose a lot. So here's the next round. You can see the Fat Frog slides around the side to get out of my snake's arc of vision. So just because he was worried, they did have a banner in there, so they could actually charge him and combat res him down slowly over time, just because he's unstable or whatever when he's in that form. But that is fine. I don't mind that. The Stegodon comes into the Lich Priest, and that's going to spell the doom of my little Lich Priest. My Tomb King is now down to him and his chariot. He has 2 wounds on him, so that's not great. But the bright side is when you get down to just a Tomb King and he's got a 2 or 3 up armor save, his chariot's pretty, is a tough thing, and Mitt wasn't knocking the chariot out from under him, which he probably could have. Not that it would have done a whole lot. It would have been more free wounds, I guess, for combat resolution. But once again, he basically does nothing, and we sit there, and I don't crumble that much, and I stick. The Skinkies over on the left move over to just put a bunch of blowpipe shots into my chariots, which, again, doesn't really matter. If they fired at them for 6 turns, they could probably get the whole unit. So, there's that. The results. You can see we've killed some more Saurus, and the Tomb King goes down. I managed to fail both of his armor and ward saves, which was just very much appreciated that happened. They were basically non-existent. And the chariots are now stuck in a position where they cannot charge because I cannot actually clip the unit. It has gotten thin enough to where with the wheel, I have to turn far enough because of that impassable. It doesn't look at it with this angle, but we got down there, we looked at it. There was just no way to get the whole unit into the Sauruses. So that's pretty unfortunate. You'll also notice that there is a unit of Snake Surfers that's strangely missing. That is because on his turn, he threw a boosted Strength 6 Shems or whatever at them, and did just he did 10 hits, and 9 of those became wounds. So that was pretty sweet, because that just vaped them right off the table, so good times. Gotta love that. And of course I got a dead caster as the Stegodon just, rolls right over her. A duh. So that's when I decide to enact a little different plan. I take the Tomb Prince and the Tomb Herald out of the unit and charge both of them in there, because with only 2 chariots and, moving as they are as sort of individuals, they can both get in there. The side of the corner of the Saurus was just clipped by that Tomb Herald's chariot, which was very much appreciated. So we charged in there, and with the new impact hits that happened, plus all of their attacks, these two managed to come in. Remember, they're actually characters and should be good at killing infantry, and do that. So we get the Saurus block, pick it up. It had been killed down to where it was actually outside of his general's leadership, where he had to float to. So he was basically on, 2s, and that was it for that. Caught them, ran them down. You can see the Tomb Prince, which is actually the corpse guard there that Mitt was letting me borrow, much appreciated, was caught by him. And so he gets vengeance for Tomb King whiffs a lot. On his turn, he brings everything, we're actually in his turn here, he brings up everything to, again, try to pick up that chariot unit. There are 5 regular chariots there. He's kind of given up on getting either the characters, but he's going to put everything he's got into the chariot unit to see if he can vape it, and the steg goes into the other Scullipult. So once again, that will be a dead Scullipult. And that's the end of the game. You can see that after all that shooting, there's still 2 unwounded chariots left. So he did pretty good, even without, I don't have a caster, so I was opposing his level 4 on raw dice. But even with that and a bunch of light magic, I mean, there's just a lot of wounds in chariots. They don't go down super easy. And there's still 2 left. So that's the end of the game right there. We totaled it up, and initially it was a loss for the Tomb Kings by about 300, which is not a huge loss. So that's like maybe a 12 or 12-8 or 13-7. Then we realized that I was at 2,500 points. And when put in that light, oh, was this a massacre. So even down by 500 points, Mitt just outplayed me completely. I just completely ran these Tomb Kings in the wrong way. You'd think I'd be better at running all chariot armies, being that I do this so often, but nope. So that's how not to play Tomb Kings, and also a great lesson in how to play Lizardmen, as he did all the right moves with his stuff there. Yeah, and his Stegodon cleaned up my whole backfield. That was just a good, very good time. That Stegodon would have also been really great into one of my chariot blocks, let me just say that, because it did have sharpened horns. So those impact hits are super scary. So I'm glad that maybe he wanted my backfield more than he wanted my chariot block, but had it been around, that could have really done some heavy damage. I would say if there's any missed opportunity on his side, it was only that he could have ended that combat so much sooner if he just would have ignored my level 2 caster that wasn't doing much and turned around and charged my chariot block and just exploded it with 4 or 5 D3 wound impact hits. That being said, it was certainly a very fun game. I apologize profusely for being an idiot and for cheating, I guess would be the long and short of that. But it was still a fun game. I don't think he minded, because he still won despite the deficit. So proved himself a great general, proved how fun and dynamic and good the Lizardmen can be. And it was just a really good time. Despite the inequity in points, we still had a really fun time on both sides of the equation. In any game where my Casket of Souls actually lives to the end, I count that as some form of minor victory. That thing loves to blow up and kill all my own troops. And I'm sure you'll see that more throughout these battle reports. But for now, that brings us to the end of this one. And so, as always, we'll see you next time.